Before we read our anchor text, turn to page 310 in your student book. We need to look at the author's purpose for writing. We need to look at our target skill and our target strategy. As you read Dog of the Sea Waves, think about how the author describes Hawaii, and write details and text evidence in a chart like the one below. Then you can use the information that you've gathered to help you figure out the author's purpose or reason for writing the story. Alright, so you see the text details, and they all point to the author's purpose for writing a story. As you read, you can use an inference map like this one to identify the important details that will help you determine the author's purpose. Our strategy is the question. As you read, ask yourself questions about the text. If there's something that you do not understand, you can use text evidence to help you answer your questions. If you have trouble answering your questions, you may need to look back at the text and illustrations and then skim or reread part of the text. Let's preview the topic, volcanoes. Okay, today we will begin reading Dog of the Sea Waves. Let's look at volcanoes. The Hawaiian Islands are lush, green, and beautiful. It's hard to believe that they were formed from red-hot, bubbling rock rising from deep inside the earth. When the melted rock cooled, it hardened into land and formed islands. Plants, such as palms, and animals, such as seals, found their way to the island. Eventually, people did too. In Dog of the Sea Waves, you'll read a story of 5 young men who explored these volcanic islands long ago. You'll find out what happens when one of the volcanoes wakens from its rest. If you turn the page, you will see the author, James Rumford. You can read about him there. Again, it's pointing out this inference map for author's purpose. Use those text details to figure out what the author's purpose was for writing this. The genre is realistic fiction. This is a story that really could happen in real life. You can look for realistic characters and events in the story, a plot with beginning, middle, and an end, and details that will help you picture the setting. So, Dog of the Sea Waves. Our essential question is, what changes do volcanoes cause? We're going to think about that as we read this selection. But first, I want you to pause the video. You're going to preview the text. You're going to predict what you think the story is going to be about. And then, as we know, good readers set a purpose for reading by using their preview and what they know about the genre, which is realistic fiction, to decide why they want to read this and what their purpose is. So you're going to do those 3 things. So go ahead and pause the video now. Preview, predict, and set your purpose. If I were going to set a purpose for reading Dog of the Sea Waves, I know it's realistic fiction, and that it tells a story that could really happen. The illustrations show a boy and a seal swimming in the ocean. One purpose for reading could be to find out more about the boy and the seal that I see in the pictures. I want you to pause the video now and read Dog of the Sea Waves. It starts on page 314 and ends on page 329. So pause the video, read those pages, and come back when you're done so we can think through the text. Now that you've read Dog of the Sea Waves, let's think about what we read and make sure that we understand. All right? So, how do the illustrations of the ahawa tree snail and belted rossi contribute to the story? What have you learned about Manu's character? Based on the text, illustration, and your own experience, what type of animal do the brothers find near the lagoon? And what clues in the text point to the seal's characteristics? Based on what we just read, what else do you learn about Manu's character? Why does Manu name the seal Dog of the Sea Waves? What clues in the text support the idea that Manu is no longer homesick? How does the illustration on page 321 relate to what is happening in the story? What details does the author include to let you know that something is wrong? Analyze the text. Analyze illustrations. How does the illustration help you feel what is described in the text? What does the author mean when he says the sea was a monster? What evidence supports your response? In the second paragraph on page 324, what human quality does the author give the sea? Why do you think Dog of the Sea Waves saved Manu's life? Look at the picture and think about the sequence of events in the story. What do you think Manu will tell his friends and family about the Hawaiian Islands? How did Manu's character change from the beginning to the end of the story? Let's analyze the text. Author's purpose. Tell in your own words what you think the author wants readers to learn from the brothers' story. You have just read Dog of the Sea Waves, a realistic fiction story about 5 brothers who explore the Hawaiian Islands. Let's look at the top of page 330 in your student book. Authors write for different reasons. The author's purpose can be to inform, to persuade readers to do or believe something. Maybe it's to describe or to entertain, but sometimes an author has more than one purpose. To help identify the author's purpose, think about text evidence in the story. Why were there certain details that were included? If you look back at page 316 in Dog of the Sea Waves, the author sets the scene and introduces you to the characters. You can already tell that it is a story from long ago. As you read, think about how other details point to the author's reason for writing. So this inference map helps us to record the important details and determine the author's purpose. The author describes the setting of the story. It's the Hawaiian Islands, and it happens about 2,000 years ago. The author also introduces, so that's one text detail. The author also introduces the characters and what they care about in nature. And then there's details about the island, and they seem like facts, but the characters are made up. The author's purpose may be to persuade readers to care for and respect nature. Illustrations like the paintings in Dog of the Sea Waves show the events of a story. They also create a mood or a feeling for the story. For example, if you look at the illustration on page 324, the brothers look frightened. The dark blue waves are high and dangerous, and Manu is being carried away by the sea. The mood is tense and scary. But then, if you look at page 319 in Dog of the Sea Waves, those illustrations show Manu's expression as he plays with Dog of the Sea Waves. And the mood there is very relaxed and happy, and you can see that when you analyze illustrations. Now it's your turn to return to the essential question. You're going to discuss what changes do volcanoes cause with your learning adult. You are going to support your ideas with text evidence from the story. You're also going to answer the 3 questions in the classroom conversation box on page 332. When you're done with your conversation, please come back to the video. Now it's time to write about reading as a response. You're going to describe how the brothers feel about Dog of the Sea Waves when they first find him near the beginning of the story. And then how do they feel toward him in the middle of the story? And then how do their feelings change by the end? You're going to write a short paragraph that answers these questions using text evidence to support your answers. Your writing tip is to organize the ideas in sequence. Use linking words and phrases like first, then, later, and in the end to show how the ideas are related.